Welcome back, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Welcome back. This is session 3 of the podcast guesting masterclass. Super excited to see you all here. Say hello to some folks I see. Hi, John. Hi, Amy and Elsa. Kalai, Scott. Nice to see you all here. I'm really excited for this session. This session is super actionable. There's going to be a lot of just specific tactics and things that you can implement right away in your business. So this will be really great. Make sure you have a way to take some notes so you can remember what to do. Who here has already done some podcast interviews that are published that you can be repurposing, or who has interviews on their calendar coming up? Just you could do a little raise hand. Awesome. So you'll love this session because you're going to hear stuff and you're going to be like, oh my God, perfect. I could do this right away. So we're going to go ahead and dive right in to this session. Welcome to session 3 of the podcast guesting masterclass. Today, we're talking about how to leverage and repurpose your podcast interviews. I'm your host, Jessica Rhodes. I'm the founder and CEO of Interview Connections. We're the world's first ever and leading podcast booking agency since 2013, when I started this business to be a stay-at-home mom. We have booked over 50,000 podcast interviews for more than 1,000 clients that have generated millions of dollars in sales across the world for our clients. So what we're teaching you this week is not theory. It's not something we read in a book. It is actually from the lived experience of doing this work for 13 years. I want you to book a discovery call. If you know that when people hear you speak, they want to work with you, then getting interviewed on podcasts consistently every single month is the key to you growing your business and getting more clients. And I want to help you do that. So go to interviewconnections.com/call, because the doors are open for enrolling in Interview Connections this month in July. So grab a time on my calendar for a 30-minute one-on-one call. And so we can learn a little bit more about your business and see if working together would be a good fit. So interviewconnections.com/call. What you have learned so far this week, we have talked about how to turn podcast interviews into dream clients. I want you to put it in the chat, or if you're watching the replay, put it in the comments below the video on YouTube. What are the 3 different ways that you can generate clients from podcast guesting? There are 3 different buckets. What were those 3 buckets? Put it in the chat. And then in session 2, we talked about how to be an unforgettable podcast guest. We went over the podcast one sheet. We talked about the 7 traits of being an unforgettable podcast guest. We talked about storytelling, confidence. We spent a bit of time on regulating and calming your nervous system so you can have a nice regulated tone that makes it, pleasant for people to listen to you. All right, let's check the chat. All right, John, use the host, your customers, and their listeners. Perfect. Yes. The host of the show, their audience, and your audience. Those are the 3 main buckets. So perfect. So now we are going to talk about how to multiply your results as a podcast guest by 10xing your visibility through repurposing your podcast interviews, because this strategy doesn't stop when you do the interview. It's only just beginning. Once you actually have the interview published and online, that's when you can get a lot more mileage out of podcast guesting. So this is the visibility multiplier. Podcast guesting doesn't stop when the interview ends. You really get out of it what you put into it. And I've, had this conversation with clients over the years who, say, how can I get a better ROI? I haven't seen sales from podcast guesting. And I go to their LinkedIn and they haven't posted a single one of their interviews. So if you don't implement everything we're teaching you, you're leaving money on the table and you're not getting the full results that are possible when you actually implement this strategy in the way that it is intended. So let's go through how you can repurpose and leverage your interviews as a guest. So number 1, before the interview has even been recorded, post on social media that you've been booked as a guest on a podcast. This positions you as a sought after expert, and it shows your audience that you are an in-demand speaker. So Christina L. Woods is an empowerment coach and a clinical hypnotherapist. She's also a Reiki healer, and she works with high performing women and men entrepreneurs. And she did this because she's a great client and she implements what she's learning. And she posted on social media that she was booked for a podcast interview before the interview had even been recorded. She posted about it, and somebody in her audience saw that post and reached out and said, I saw that you're booked for podcasts. Do you also speak at retreats? And the answer is yes. So she got hired to speak at an in-person retreat where then she got multiple coaching clients from that opportunity. So the domino was that she posted about being a podcast guest, which then opened a door to her speaking at a retreat, which then got her coaching clients. So this is so huge. Do not overlook this. Even if you think, oh, social media, like nobody reads my stuff, nobody comments, I don't have a big following. People are reading, they might not be commenting, but you want to be consistent with talking about the booking, like the bookings that you're getting, the visibility. Of course, like we talked about in session 2, I believe, or one or two, tag the host in that, put a link to their show, make it conversational, talk about what you're going to be interviewed about, why you're excited to be on the show, create some buzz. So that is what you want to do before the interview even happens. Now, the day of the recording, you're also going to continue creating buzz and letting your audience know what's going on for you today, which is that you're getting interviewed on a podcast today. So take a photo of yourself, post a picture of you with your microphone, talk about what you're going to be interviewed about, who you're connecting with, right? Tag the host of the show, do a story on your Instagram or your Facebook, do a post on LinkedIn. But you want to get in the practice of talking about your podcast interviews. This is going to invite more opportunities to you. Most of our clients who are consistent with their podcast guesting, they work with us every single month for years and years. They're talking about interviews. They're not just getting the interviews that we book for them. They're also getting inbound interview requests, people that see that they're a podcast guest and reach out to them and say, hey, I saw that you're getting interviewed. I also have a podcast. So you talking about getting booked on podcasts is going to invite more interview requests. So post about your interview, post a selfie, do a story, let people see you in action. And then immediately after the interview, go live. Put on an Instagram live stream, film a video of yourself talking about, hey, I just got off this podcast. This is what we talked about. I shared this story. I'm going to post this episode as soon as it gets published so you can listen to it. But give some takeaways. Your creative juices will start flowing as you're responding to questions and you're in conversation. So really keep feed that and talk about it and post about it. A lot of our coaches that we work with talk about how they feel like they're on this social media hamster wheel. Give me a yes in the chat if you feel like social media just trips you up and you're here because you don't want to be on social media. You're like, I need another way to get more clients. So a big challenge with social media is that we don't know what to post and we feel like we're just screaming into the void. And the thing that I love about podcast guesting and the tips that I'm sharing with you today is that you don't just have to create content in a vacuum that you don't know if people are wanting to read or see. You're in conversation with your audience about what is happening. You are tagging the host. You're talking about what's going on. And it just feels more natural than like writing a post from nowhere or filming a video about a topic that you're like, can I even talk about this in 1 minute in an Instagram reel? So immediately after the interview, just go live and then talk about the experience. You just did the interview, so talk about it. Again, tag the host, mention the show, share a couple takeaways. And then when the episode goes live, the host should email you. They're going to email you and they're going to let you know that the episode is live. This is a screenshot, an example of an email that I got when an interview went live. So she gave me the link to the show. She gave me the links to all of her platforms. She actually added me as a collaborator on the episode on YouTube. So I got to add that to my YouTube channel, which was really cool. And then she gave me some graphics. So a lot of hosts will give you the marketing assets and you can take that and then promote it on your page. Podcast hosts love it when you do this. and they really don't like it when you don't. So you definitely want to do it. You want to promote your episode when it goes live, reply to their email. If you can't post it the day that it's out, that's fine. Say, great, I'm going to get this posted this week. I'm going to put this in my email newsletter on Monday. Like, let them know how you're promoting it. And then keep all of your interviews tracked on a spreadsheet. This is, I mean, having a spreadsheet to track my interviews, and we do this for all of our clients. All of our clients have a co-tracker spreadsheet. So when we book them on a podcast, it goes on the co-tracker. They have it. Everything's super organized. It's such a game changer. And my virtual assistant, Vernie, is here in the chat, and she helps me get everything posted. And it's great because she'll say, when we started with social media, she's like, which interview should I post? I was like, well, here's my co-tracker. They're all on this spreadsheet. And she's like, perfect. Like, makes it super, super easy. So track all of your interviews on a spreadsheet. So that way you can be posting them on a regular basis. Coaches tell me all the time who do podcast interviews, oh, I got a client from a podcast that I recorded a year ago. People, they just found it recently. So these episodes have a very long shelf life, and they have an even longer shelf life when you're consistently promoting them. So it's not like, oh, the episode came out today and I have to post it this week or else I'm not going to get anything from it. When you consistently use these podcast appearances as content in your marketing, you can get mileage out of these episodes all the time. I mean, just a week or two ago, my email newsletter really targeted, the whole theme was like mom entrepreneurs. And I talked about, I had a little part of the email where I talked about being a mom. And then I had an episode with me as a guest on Mary Dibble's podcast. And that was a show for mom entrepreneurs. I featured an interview on my podcast with a mom entrepreneur. And so, but that episode that I recorded as a guest, that was like last year, but it was relevant. And I still used it in my email newsletter this month. So these episodes have a very long shelf life. They're content that you can be using and repurposing all of the time. So give me a yes in the chat if you want a couple tips on how to use AI. I have a really great resource that is super inexpensive and super easy, and we use it all the time, both for all of my marketing and for our clients. All right, so short form video. One podcast interview within 10 minutes can give you 30 days of daily content for your social media. So we have a referral link here. We'll put that in the chat. Opus Pro is the platform that we use to create short form videos from podcast appearances. It could not be easier. You put a link to the interview if it's on YouTube, where you can upload the MP4 of your video interview to Opus. And then it'll give you 30 clips that look like this, where it'll give you the caption. It'll put it'll transcribe it and have captions of what's being said. And you can edit the font and the color of that. You can adjust where the captions are on the video. And then when you click on it, it'll give you a caption for the post. It'll transcribe the post. So it's totally done for you. It's super, super easy. And then it'll rate it. So 99 is how good of a hook it is. And short form video, people are scrolling on Instagram, YouTube Shorts, TikTok. So you want a video with a really good hook that's going to stop the scroll. And Opus will evaluate the video to tell you which one has the best hook. So that's an example. So interviewconnections.com/opus, you can get, try out the software. Again, it's what we use. We include repurposing services in our membership at Interview Connections. So if you work with us, we will do all this for you. We'll repurpose all of your interviews for you. So I cannot recommend this enough. I mean, we've had clients that they'll get clients who just watch their clips, who see their clips and are like, oh, they said the right thing in that 2-minute clip of the interview, and that was enough to get them to convert and to book a call and sign up. So post clips of your interviews. Clips will often get even more views than a full interview because it's a much smaller ask to have somebody watch a clip for a minute versus listen to an entire podcast. So you want to do both, because the people that listen to the entire podcast, they're obviously going to be way more educated. They're going to know you a lot better. They'll have more trust in you versus just watching a short clip. But the clips are also a really great way to get a lot of touch points with a lot of people. So this is a both and conversation. It's not just podcasts. It's not just social media. It's both. And when you get on podcasts and repurpose your interviews, you kind of kill two birds with one stone. It makes it just a heck of a lot easier. So definitely utilize Opus, repurpose your interviews because you'll just get so much more mileage out of it. So there's also a YouTube strategy. We have a whole training in our school community for our clients about YouTube. There's so much to be said about this, but just one little tip here is that you can post your interviews on YouTube. You can collaborate with podcast hosts on the video interview on YouTube and create a whole playlist of podcast appearances on your YouTube channel. If they don't invite you to collaborate, you can just share the interview as a post. This is what that looks like. So definitely utilize your podcast interviews on YouTube because YouTube is a search engine. Google owns it. So the more content you have on YouTube, that's going to really improve your search engine optimization and your GEO. I don't know what the G stands for, but that's basically like your AI search optimization when people are asking their AI tool for recommendations for coaches and service providers. If you have a lot of podcast interviews online, in fact, our client Jordan was just telling me the other day, he got a client and he said, "Well, how did you find me?" He goes, "I asked my AI search and you came up." And he goes, "What are you doing for SEO?" And Jordan was like, nothing. Oh, wait, I'm getting on podcasts. Like that is his SEO strategy, is to be on podcasts. So definitely get your podcast interviews across multiple different platforms. And that creates a much bigger footprint online. And the bigger your footprint is online, the easier it will be for people to find you when they are searching for the services that you provide. All right. And then another tip for getting video. Oh, John says it's generative engine optimization. That was on the tip of my tongue. Thank you, John. Carmen asks if the podcast is audio only, does Opus still work for that? So if the podcast is audio only, you're going to want to take this next tip, Carmen, which is to film yourself being interviewed. So I'm going to show you something here. If you guys can see my video, not the slides, but this is something that you can get on Amazon. Just search for like iPhone, desk holder. It sits on my desk and then I can put my iPhone right here. And then I put it off to the side and I film myself actually doing the interview. And then you can create clips from that MP4 file. So if the host is recording the interview totally audio only, you can't put an audio file into Opus, but you can still film yourself doing the interview and then utilize that footage, which sometimes looks even better than just a Zoom recording. So this is a screenshot like that, with me being interviewed and I just filmed myself because you can see it's not from the perspective of Zoom. It's actually from the perspective of my iPhone filming me. So that's just a little bit of a workaround. And most hosts will record your interview on Zoom with video or Riverside or wherever, and they'll do it with video so that there's some eye contact and body language. They may not post the entire video interview, but you can always ask them for the raw file. You can say, "Could you send me the video? Because I would love to create clips with it." Content preferences matter. So your audience will include people who prefer to read, who prefer to listen, who prefer to watch. So if you're limiting your content just to one platform, you're going to miss out on people who prefer to consume content in other ways. So don't just rely on audio and video. You also want to be repurposing your podcast into written content. So this is my book. It's from 2016. You can still buy it on Amazon, but it is 10 years old, so I haven't updated it. But honestly, the content's still great. But I wanted to show you this because I repurposed my podcast content into a book. Now, I didn't use AI because it was 2016, but I did work with a ghostwriter and she helped me take what I had said on a podcast and turn it into a book. And so that's what you can do. You can utilize AI to do that. You can feed your transcripts of your podcast interviews into AI and that'll whip up a book for you real quick. You can also transcribe your podcast interview content and then turn it into social media captions, email content, blog posts, articles, white papers, lead magnets, a book, like the list goes on. And it is your IP. It's what you already said on the podcast. So that's a scenario that leveraging AI makes a lot of sense. So repurpose your written content or your audio content into written content. And then this is something we call audio stacking. So you can create a playlist on Spotify of all of your podcast appearances because your podcast appearances will be on Spotify. Because if someone has a podcast, they have an RSS feed and it's going out onto Apple and to Spotify. And so what you can do is you can create a playlist of your podcast appearances and then click the little share button on the Spotify playlist and put that in your Instagram bio as a link in your Instagram bio. And this is something that you can send to your list, to your leads, warm referrals. Several of our clients do this. Lauren Elise Rogers, you saw her one sheet in session 2. She has a really, really great following on Instagram. Her Instagram is sex ed for you. And I don't remember if there are underscores. Anyway, so she talks about how she has a really big following on Instagram. That's kind of like a main platform for where her audience is. And when she started posting the playlist of her guest appearances, she had people convert into her coaching program who had been following her on social media for years. And when they started listening to her long form content on podcasts, that's what got them to actually buy. So that's what I'm talking about with your own audience. You have people that are following you that are right there. Like if this is the finish line to buying, they are just here. They're here and they could be here for years. And then when you start getting them to listen to your podcast appearances, that's what gets them over the fence. That's what gets them over the edge. So do podcasts, share them, get your audience to listen to them. It really will make a big difference. Okay, great. Vernie put a link to Lauren's Instagram, sex_ed_for_you. Okay. All right. Carmen made a Spotify playlist already. Awesome. Yeah, it's great to have them all in one place. Highly recommend it. All right, now I'm going to give you some sales tips. Who here wants more sales in their business? If that is a goal for you right now, give me a yes. Oh, Marie's going to go do it right now. Yay. Awesome. And this makes it actually really easy for your media sheet or for your media page. You can just put the playlist, embed the playlist on your media page. So number 1, share podcast interviews with your leads before sales calls. This will build trust before you speak to them. So before you get on a sales call, ask the prospect to listen to a specific podcast appearance. And then they come into that call seeing you as more of an authority, and they'll be more educated about what you do and your story. It'll be a much easier conversation. Number 2, share your interviews with your email list. So use them as content and use them as a way to engage your audience. Sometimes my emails with podcast links have the highest click-through rates because if all of your emails are just written content, you might be missing out on the people who actually want to listen to you speak or who want to watch a video with you. So use them as content in your email marketing. And then sales tip number 3 is to showcase your podcast interviews on your website. When you have a media page and there's a place on your website that showcases you as an expert guest, that gives people that shows instant credibility for you as an authority. This is just an example. Kevin St. Clergy. This is kind of a screenshot of his media page. You can see that at media.m3mastery.com. And I promise that if you repurpose your interviews consistently and you promote them strategically and you are getting interviewed on the right targeted podcast, you will see meaningful growth in your business this year. This strategy works. I guarantee it. The problem is most people don't implement it. They don't get interviewed on podcasts. They don't get interviewed consistently. They're not getting interviewed on the right podcast, and they don't have the coaching and support to be implementing everything that I'm talking about in this masterclass. And that's why I founded Interview Connections. We are a done for you service that gets you booked on the right podcasts so you can consistently get visibility in front of your target audience, and where we're coaching and guiding you on implementing the strategy. So what happens after you decide to start working with us is we are going to get really clear on your offer when you're a podcast guest, your call to action. What are you actually offering to the listeners to get them to your website? And we're going to create all the media assets, your one sheet, your media kit. Phase two is getting you booked consistently. So that's actually placing you on the podcast, introducing you to the host, and you getting those interviews scheduled on your calendar. And then phase three is seeing the snowball grow. It's seeing you get more interviews booked, you recording, you seeing them go live, you promoting them, getting more interviews booked. That's where the snowball really grows. So go to interviewconnections.com/call to schedule a free 30-minute discovery call with me so we can go over all of the details. In the first 2 weeks, you're going to have your podcast ready media kit. You're going to have a proven podcast one sheet. And even if you say, I already have a one sheet, we will probably redo it because we know how to make a one sheet that works. So we're going to write your interview topics. We're going to give you a template for a media page on your website. We will write very clear criteria for the types of shows that are going to move the needle for you and your business. And then you'll have a one-on-one personalized strategy call, and you'll have completed the first 2 modules of our Kickstart course. So interviewconnections.com/call. By week 6, you are going to be rocking that podcast. You are going to have your first several bookings. You'll have completed our Kickstart course. You'll have a tight, credible offer to be giving podcast listeners. We're going to have a very clear plan for future bookings, and you will have instant credibility in your field because you will be posting and sharing about your appearances. So go to interviewconnections.com/call. In the first 90 days, we're going to be cooking. So you're going to have your number one podcast offer dialed in. You'll have started recording your podcast interviews. You're going to start getting feedback on your podcast interviews. You'll be actively networking and getting to know other super successful coaches and entrepreneurs in our community. You'll have completed 3 personalized coaching calls with Amelia, and you'll have a plan to be actively growing your social media presence online. Interviewconnections.com/call is your next step. Some 90-day wins. So I told you about Christina Woods. Before she was even recording a podcast, she had been booked to speak at a retreat. Natasha and Isaac Ho, they got a $21,000 client just from their communication with the host before the interview took place. And then Ben Hakama, the first podcast host that interviewed him, became his client. And make no mistake, these results came because they worked with Interview Connections. They took our coaching and they implemented our coaching. This is not luck. This is doing the work, partnering with the right coach, and implementing. Interviewconnections.com/call to book your call with me. This time next year, podcast guesting will be a proven, repeatable growth channel for your business. Very common results we see from our clients at the 1-year mark. They're getting paid speaking engagements. In fact, Kevin St. Clergy, paid speaking engagements in his first month. A third of the podcast hosts become clients. 10x email list growth. This is an amazing way to grow your email list and actually grow your list of qualified leads. Because sure, you can run ads and grow your list, but you might not be getting many qualified leads if that's the only way that you're growing. So getting on podcasts gets you in front of people who opt in for your list, who are actually qualified and know you and trust you. And on average, a 4x return on investment. Go to interviewconnections.com/call to schedule your discovery call with me. If you do your part and we don't hit your bookings in any given month, we keep working until we do at no extra cost to you. So there are no excuses. There's no hidden fees. You are investing in results. Interviewconnections.com/call is your next step. So we do have some bonuses. When you enroll with us in July, you'll get the custom podcast media kit, the one sheet, and the media site template. I will interview you on the Interview Connections podcast. So I'll interview you, give you an amazing feature. I'm going to make you look amazing. And I'll give you on-the-spot coaching on your interview skills as a guest. You'll be in our private coach community. So we have a school group. That's our community where we have the course, we have monthly trainings, and there's a lot of coaches like in there helping each other on the strategy. And then we're going to send you everything you need: microphone, ring light, headphones. We're going to ship that right to you. So interviewconnections.com/call to get your call with me scheduled. So why now? We are onboarding just 7 new clients in July. We are not an AI service. When you work with us, we are actually going to be personally writing and designing your one sheet. We're going to be personally researching and hand selecting shows that we know are the right fit for you because there is nuance to this strategy. Just because you're a health coach doesn't mean you just go on health shows. You know, if your target audience is a high performing female entrepreneur, she might be listening to shows about, self development and personal development. And so maybe that's the right show. So we actually use our brain, not just AI, to try to find the right shows. And so that means we really take time with each client and on each account. So we're just onboarding 7 new clients in July. It's myself and 6 local full time employees. And when spots are filled, the doors are closed. So go to interviewconnections.com/call. We have a couple different payment plans. We have a couple different membership tiers and packages. So we have an annual option if you commit for the year, which I recommend that you do because the longer you do this, the better the results are going to be. You'll get 2 months free, a priority onboarding, and all of the bonuses locked in. And you can also go month to month. So it's totally up to you. It's the same program and the same guarantee. You could just choose to pay for the year and get 2 months free, or you can go month to month. And there's no long-term contracts. So you can cancel anytime with 30 days notice. So interviewconnections.com/call. Schedule a call with me. We'll go over all the details. We'll go over all the options and make sure it's a good fit for you. At this point, you are the only person who's deciding whether or not you're going to get more visibility for your business because we've got the plan for you. You want to grow, you want to reach new audiences, you want to get more clients. And this is a way that you can do that and create a ton of content, build your network, hone your message, build your email list, get speaking opportunities. And you just have to decide that, do you want that? Are you ready for that? And deciding, there's so much power in it. Once you know and you in your intuition and your gut, you're like, I know this is going to work for me. When you take the step and you decide and you take the action, the universe responds. And that's when things start really cooking in your business. And that's exactly like I've seen this time and time again in my own entrepreneurial career. I've been in business for 13 years. When I first decided I wanted to have a 6-figure business, and my dad, my business coach, said, great, if you've decided, implement. And I did. And I hit that goal within 6 months. And that's exactly how I've continued to grow my business. I move at the speed of instruction. I make a decision and then I take the step, even when I'm scared, even when I'm nervous, even when I'm like, am I ready? But I move forward because I listen to my gut. I listen to my intuition and I make an educated decision. You have now all the information you need to know if this is going to work for you. You've got the strategy, you've got the blueprint, you know how to be a great guest, and you know all these different ways that you can repurpose. And now what you need to do is decide, do you actually want to do it? And if so, book a call with me at interviewconnections.com/call because we will make it happen for you. When you work with us, we're going to get you in front of new audiences. We're going to book you on the podcast and we're going to coach you and support you and make sure that this is a successful strategy. So interviewconnections.com/call is your next step. Book your call with me. My calendar does fill up. As I said, I don't have a sales team. So what you see here on this masterclass is what you're going to get one-on-one. We're going to talk about your business. We're going to go through what your goals are, where you're at in business right now, talk about what your offer is, how many clients you're looking for. And if we can help you, I'll go over the options and we'll help you take the next step. So go to interviewconnections.com/call, schedule a call with me. You'll get a calendar invite. We'll send you an email to confirm that call and then join the Zoom and we'll talk. And tomorrow in session 4, you're going to meet several Interview Connections clients, people who were where you are right now, and they made the decision, they took the step, they moved forward, and they are growing and they are experiencing what I've been talking about all week. So you're going to hear from them tomorrow in session 4. So don't miss it. Same time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. And then the replays expire on Friday, the 24th. So interviewconnections.com/call. I can't wait to talk with you all one-on-one. Thank you so much for being here. And I will see you for session 4 tomorrow. Bye.